Hey guys, what's up and welcome to the channel, the Shotgun Shogun, and today we're going to be talking about punishing trespassers. We're talking about one of the big three bruisers, and that is Little Queen Charlotte, and one of my absolute favorite go-to bruisers. Not only does she do a ton of damage, she helps mitigate damage, and well, her S3 is just absolutely amazing. So before we get into her skills, I want to get into her stats. And so she does have 1,119 attack, 627 defense, 6,266 health, 109 speed, which is actually pretty decent, and then the rest is just standard. So when it comes to stats, she is in the middle of everybody. She's not as tanky as like Alencia or Apoc Ravi, but she's also not as high damage and kind of squishy as like an ML Ken, right? She does have the exact same stats as Luna, so there is that. She's kind of this nice in the middle, nice and hefty, but also is going to dish out a metric pile of damage. Her imprint is health for the top two there, but typically I always run her with the self imprint just for the increased defense, so that you get more heft, more tankiness. So getting into her skills, number one is going to be Judgment. Now this attacks with a giant sword before granting the caster immunity for one turn. One of the nicest things about this is that you can get this on a double attack, you can get this on, stuff like that. And sometimes I'll start out with Lilius, and then Lilius will do her thing, and then it'll trigger Little Queen Charlotte, and then I'll have immunity. Easy, awesome. It does fall off whenever you do your S3. So you can open with S1, but a lot of times you're going to open with S3 because you're there to just delete something off of the map. But that debuff immunity is real huge to get you through the turns until you get to your next S3. So that one is very, very good. Now her S2, this is one of the reasons why I like her so much. Everybody focuses a lot on her damage. They focus a lot on her just killing dark units like crazy, but this one is hardly ever talked about, and this is Queen's Dignity. This decreases damage suffered from a critical hit by 30% for her. Decreased damage suffered by for a critical hit for all allies except for the caster by 10%, and it'll go up to 15% when you have it completely maxed out. Now, the nice thing here too is that it does increase the combat readiness of the caster by 15% when the caster suffers a critical hit. So the more DPSers she's going up against, the faster she's going to be cycling turns, and she's going to be reducing that damage because unless you're Gunther, chances are you're doing critical hit damage, right? So this is going to be pushing her forward. It's going to be reducing that damage. Now, a lot of people underestimate just how much mitigation that does. I have Chaerons all the time that just open up on my Little Queen Charlotte, and it hardly dents her. You have a lot of DPS units that just go through, and she just gets pushed right to the front, and she doesn't take nearly as much damage. Now, to put that into perspective, if we go over here to Adamant Shield, you'll notice that this decreases the critical hit damage received by all allies by 16%. So she is literally 1% away from an Adamant Shield. That's an entire artifact that you don't have to run a second tank for, meaning that if you run an Arius and Little Queen Charlotte, you are effectively running both of those artifacts in like one team without having to fill another artifact slot, and it gives her the even bigger damage mitigation. So that is real huge, and I think a lot of people kind of underestimate that, or at least it's not what I hear them talk about when they talk about Little Queen Charlotte. But this is what they talk about right here. So this smashes the enemy with a sword and attacks, penetrates defense by 50%, huge. Deals increased damage against dark elemental enemies, huge. Recovers health of the caster proportional to the damage dealt, again, huge. So this means that you can open up with the S1, take some damage, clap somebody with the S2 the next time around, heal said damage, and you had debuff immunity throughout the whole first turn. So this is really big. And if you soul burn, it'll grant an extra turn, meaning that if you have to take care of like an Arbiter Vildred and you bring a book, easy. If you need to take care of an Arbiter Vildred later on when you've built up some souls, you got it. Or if you just need to do two attacks, right? You can S3 and then S1. It just takes away, and then you cycle faster, easy peasy. Now this is really, really good. It does a lot of damage. When she came out, it was pretty much you just kill dark units without much of a problem. And a lot of dark units had to switch to more heft, more HP in order to compensate for this, and you kind of shrugged off a little bit of the defense because she does penetrate 50% of the defense. Now that doesn't mean that it's on just dark units. She just does extra damage to dark units. So that 50% penetration is on everybody. So there is a lot of times where I will just, there's no dark units on the other team, I don't care, lock Little Queen Charlotte. The defense, the damage mitigation, the excessive damage that she does is just huge, and it's really, she's just such a good bruiser. It just damage, like I said, damage, heals herself, mitigation, phenomenal. But let's get into the artifacts for her. So we're gonna first start off with Dorando, and this one is actually really, really good on her. I see a lot of people run this because once she is below 70% or 75%, if she's getting crit, she just goes right to the front of the class. Like it's gonna be, you're gonna be turn cycling like crazy because you're gonna get the 15% from your passive, you're gonna get the 16% from Dorando if you have it maxed out. So you're just gonna be zooming and just dropping stuff. Really good, really phenomenal. It like I said, it allows you to cycle your turns. You're already thick, you're already mitigating damage. This is gonna get you a lot more S3s, and that is important. Now the next one up is Sigurdscythe, and I've actually ran this a couple of times. It really does help with her survival overall. If she is low on health, she's going to get that extra attack damage. She's going to get even more healing. You drop an S3 and you're back to full with Sigurdscythe procced and your S3 heal. It is real big. Personally, it's okay. I feel like there's better artifacts for her, and plus you're going to probably be using this on your MLK or somebody anyways. I have, like I said, I have used it a bit. Personally, I don't like it, but some people do. If you do, that is up to you. Now this is the one that I really like, and it is Burristooth, and this has a 100% chance to inflict additional damage after a single target. Now I believe that is 40% of the caster's attack, and it ignores 70% of their armor, of their defense. And the reason why I like this so much is like there's a lot of times that you'll just dunk them with the S3 or even the S1, and they're like a sliver away. They have that glimmer of hope in their eyes, and you just rip it away with the tooth proc. It is really good. It does actually help supplement some damage. I run my little queen a little fast with I'll show you her here in a little bit, but this does help with increasing your overall damage by quite a bit, especially if you run kind of heavy on the attack and not as much on the crit damage. So the last one I have here is Hellcutter, and a lot of people like to run very slow, high damage Little Queen Charlottes. Personally, I don't like that build, but if you do, Hellcutter is going to be your go-to unless you are pushing her forward with Oxlots, in which case you're probably going to run a portrait, right? If you are trying to open, portrait's going to be the one that you are going to want to use. Now, somebody's gonna be like, well, why didn't you suggest that? And it's like, that portrait is an opener. I think that the artifacts I'm suggesting are more for that tanky bruiser, like this is going to last a couple turns, right? So the Hellcutter, if you are a little on the slower side, or you do have some zoomy boys on your team, this is going to give you a lot of increased attack and increased critical hit chance, meaning that depending on where you are, you will be able to maybe move your gear around a little bit, bring less critical hit chance on your gear, stack a little bit more attack, stack a little bit more heft, stack a little bit more crit damage, just in case. You know, you got to get that heft right so that just in case your control or whatever doesn't do their job, you're not just getting deado, right? So those are going to be these artifacts that I am personally going to suggest. Now, some people I've seen run Drako Plate, and the problem with Drako Plate is that yes, it does increase your critical hit damage, but you lose out on the critical hit mitigation, right? Now, if you are just suffering from needing critical hit damage and you don't care about the other ones, then yes, you can stack this on her. I do feel that Drako Plate is much better on like an A Ravi and a Lencia, you know, something along those lines, because you're losing literally half of this artifact's skill in it. So if you are hurting for your critical hit damage, this is a way to do it. Now I'm going to swap over here real quick and show you my little Queen Charlotte and explain to you a little bit about why she is built the way that she is built. So as you can see, I am running the the plus 30 Burristooth. I do have 3,500 attack, and that usually does help out. You get quite a bit of extra damage from that on top of things. Now you'll see that I do have only like 1,300 defense and about 14k health, right? Now the reason why, and some people be like, wow, that little queen is squishy, but you've got to remember that she's on a team with an Arius, and she has a built-in extra double adamant shield, right? So if you are just a straight DPSer and you're bringing some attack, like some crit damage at her, she's just gonna laugh, and then she's gonna punish you because you're a trespasser. Now I run her at 194. Now the reason why I run her at 194 is because I want her to get in there and just destroy squishy things right out the gate. A lot of times I'll run a Falconeer Quarry in front of her, defense break with the Eating a Bird, and then she follows up and with the defense break and then into the S3, there's like no dark unit that is going to survive through that. Even with the low critical hit damage that I have on her. Now, like I said, I've seen some people run like just super slow, crazy high crit damage. But the thing is with her being zoomy, you get the natural turn cycle without having to take critical hit damage. If you do take crits, it just gets her up there faster, right? You start further ahead. There's a lot of times where if I run into like a Flitica Cleave team, if I bring like an Idol's Cheer plus her thing, there's sometimes that I will literally just cut a bunch of people on that team, or at least I'm really close to the front, and if she can get a turn, she's dropping somebody on that, and it's just going to disrupt that team. Now you can also bring 2 Idol's Cheers and then almost guarantee that she's going to cut, but that's a whole different topic for another day. Now, like I said, you will see that I do have like 243 crit hit damage here. I would like to improve that. I do have to get some better ring right there, and a couple of the other pieces are a little suboptimal, and so we're going to work on those as it goes. I do have 92% critical hit chance, which might as well be 0% crit hit chance because it never goes off when I need it to. Now I don't run too much in the way of effect resist on her just because she does have that debuff immunity on her S1, and not only that, but I tend to run her with cleansers anyways, so that is one of the reasons for that. Now like I said, I do really think that she is a super huge powerhouse. You want to slot her in very defensive teams. because she does bring that, it allows you to be a defensive mitigation threat. And I think that that's really big. It's kind of the same way that like Alencia is a mitigation threat, right? Because you have the team-wide defense buff along with the strip from the other, the other team. So where Alencia just has the buff, this is literally all the time, nonstop. So I feel like a lot of people just kind of don't realize that when they just see the big numbers. So building her a little bit on the faster side helps you get up there, blow out your ML Kens. Unless it's like a really tanky ML Ken, there's not too many I've ran into that I can't just kill. Now the problem is even if it is a tanky ML Ken, you're going to get kicked. He's not going to kill you most of the time because you're taking 30% reduced plus Arius. The problem is that if the Burristooth kicks in afterwards, it's probably not going to kill him because he just healed back a bunch of health. So that's a little bit disappointing, but it does allow you for easy follow-up right afterwards. Champ Zeratos are usually pretty easy. Fallen CCs, I don't really try to one-shot very often. But you do get the increased damage down the road, and so you just deal with her when you got to deal with her. But like I said before, with the 50% defense pen, this makes her a monster against just about anybody. It just makes her even more scary against dark units. So like I said, she is one of my prime bruisers that I use like all the time. It's Alencia, Little Queen Charlotte, and Aravi. Those are the three. And I like to run Alencia and Little Queen Charlotte and Lilius with like a DN. And it's just like, boom, you've got 2 defensive mitigation threats. If you get defense buff plus Arius plus Little Queen Charlotte's passive plus DN's anti-crit buff, I don't care what Arbiter Vildred you have. You could have the most stacked Arbiter Vildred in the game, and you're not really denting that. You're not going to kill that team. There's just absolutely too much mitigation on that. And it is pretty solid. So there you go. That is my Little Queen Charlotte overview. I definitely think that there are multiple ways to build her. You can build her crit destro. You can build her lifesteal. I've seen lifesteal. I've seen some people run her counterattack just for those extra debuff immunity S1s. Personally, I just don't have the gear to counterattack. I would like to eventually get gear for lifesteal on her, but again, Banshee 13 hates me. So, but with that said, I do think that this is the build that I prefer. This is the build that I like to run, and it is very, very aggressive, very threatening. So you can't really ignore her. She's gonna just gang pile all over you if you do. So anyways, guys, that's Little Queen Charlotte. I hope I opened up your eyes. If you have her and she's been sitting on the bench for some reason, pull her off of the bench, get her plus 15, and just start punishing trespassers and protecting your land. If you guys did like this and you're not subscribed yet, as always, think about it. You don't have to. It's whatever, man. But if you are, hit the bell notification. Drop me a like and a comment down below. Aravi will probably be next, and then I'm going to go over some other ones. But anyways, that's it for me. I'll catch you guys later. Take it easy, homies. Peace. Drako.